Hi, my name is Josh Ewald. This is week 3 of economics. This week we'll talk about the concept of utility, the concept of total utility, the concept of marginal utility, the law of diminishing marginal utility, and utility maximization. The concept of utility. By definition, the concept of utility helps us understand how people make choices about what to buy based on their satisfaction or happiness from consuming goods and services. Consumers want to get the most satisfaction for their limited money. I just remember utility as being highest possible satisfaction. It could be a hammer for a tool belt. It could be electricity for a third world country. It could be a French fry for an empty stomach. It just depends how much it means to the person that wants to buy it. Who determines how much an individual will receive from consuming a good? The amount of utility or satisfaction a person receives from a good really relies on the person themselves. It depends on things like preferences, expectations, current situation, maybe a promotion, financial status, and a whole lot of other things. If I asked you what your fry preference was, you might say crinkle cut or shoestring or steak fry. But I highly doubt that you would reply when somebody asked you, hey, what kind of fry you like? You would just say French. Because you know there's options out there. You have these preferences too, right? Expectations, flavor, maybe you like the certain staff at a location, the ambiance is cool, right? Then you hear about this place that says, best fries in town. You love fries, you gotta check them out. And there's probably already a couple units now of happiness going just from knowing it's fry time. So you go check them out. If the fries are awesome, then awesome. But what about the person behind you? What if they didn't really like them? That means that they bring you more happiness and with it, a greater amount of utility. In short, everyone decides how much happiness they get from something. The concept of total utility. By definition, total utility is the overall satisfaction or happiness a person gets from consuming a certain amount of goods or service. It increases as more of a good is consumed, but at a decreasing rate. Consumers try to maximize total utility by choosing products that balance satisfaction and cost. The goal is to spend in a way that gets the most overall happiness. Would you expect total utility to rise or fall with additional consumption of a good? Total utility would generally rise with additional consumption of a good, but at a decreasing rate, getting more total happiness, but that extra happiness from each additional unit gets smaller. Here's an example, and it's weird saying it out loud, but French fries are kind of a big deal to me. I'll get them all set out on the tray with a couple ketchup packets, a sweet and sour sauce maybe if I want to feel fancy, little YouTube shorts or whatever. It's a wonderful time. But then I get full, and I got nothing left to do except to sneak leftovers to the lady's emotional support animal in the booth next to me. The fries are being appreciated still because the bonding with the dog, that's great. But the dog got the fries because the utility with me is lessened. And it's not because the lady started yelling at me either. The concept of marginal utility. By definition, marginal utility is the extra satisfaction or happiness a person gets from consuming one more unit of a good or service. It helps explain how much a person places value on consumption of an item. And it also helps explain why we stop consuming at a certain point. Would you expect marginal utility to rise or fall with additional consumption of a good? Fall. Here's why. The first unit provides the most satisfaction. Additional units provide less satisfaction. And just to convey my message easier, I'll bring back the fries for an example. The first few fries, that was hard, theoretically are amazing. The last few almost always have a questionable fate, and this is due to the law of diminishing marginal utility. And now I like to define the law of diminishing marginal utility as the more you have of something, the less you appreciate the extras of it. But what I'd really like to say is the law of diminishing marginal utility states that as a person consumes more units of a good or service, the additional satisfaction, marginal utility, gained from each extra unit gradually decreases. In short, the law of diminishing marginal utility helps somewhat explain why more is not always better and why variety often leads to greater satisfaction. Is it possible for total utility to increase while marginal utility diminishes? And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, if this guy talks about fries again, I'm gonna flip out. But it's the perfect example because fries will make you fat. The timeline may look something like this. Initial consumption gives high marginal utility. Total utility rises quickly. Over time, you start to eat the fries on a regular. Marginal utility diminishes because you're eating them a lot and enjoying them less because of that. But total utility may still rise because we've gained a habit. Eventually, excessive eating can lead to negative marginal utility. Not only from being full, but from feeling bad physically and eventually emotionally. So even though total utility can increase, it was outweighed by the obesity. No pun intended. Meaning marginal utility might decrease even if it seems desired. Utility maximization example. By definition, a utility maximization problem is about figuring out how a consumer can allocate their limited resources, like money or time, across different goods or services to get the highest possible satisfaction. Utility. Now, obviously, French fries can't be the only thing that we spend money on. There's gas, there's light bills, there's Netflix, and all these other companies that are digging their hands in the pocket. Money's just dwindling away, and a French fry-less existence is inevitable if we just let them drain our wallet. We can't let that happen. We got a thing going on here now. Thought about it a long time, and the best way to keep this relationship going without anything changing, we got to download the app. There's tons of discounts in there, and ordering en route now will save money and possibly time because it will remove the drive-through line. This may actually increase utility. Well, that wraps up week 3 of economics, and that is what I learned about the concept of utility, the concept of total utility, the concept of marginal utility, the law of diminishing marginal utility, and utility maximization. Thank you for your time. I'm Josh Ewald.